Ghost of Tsushima is out now on PlayStation 4. It is the last PlayStation 4 exclusive before PlayStation 5 comes out. And Ghost of Tsushima takes place in 1274 on Tsushima Island in ancient Japan, during the first Mongol invasion of Japan. You play as a samurai named Jin Sakai, who is left for dead and is now disgraced. He has to gain the trust of allies on Tsushima Island, as well as learn new ways to fight in order to stop the Mongol invasion and save his uncle, Lord Shimura, from the clutches of Khotan Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, who is the leader of the Mongols. Ghost of Tsushima was announced back in 2017. Ever since then, I have been super hyped for this game. I thought the gameplay looked exhilarating. I was so down for a samurai game, and ever since then, I had been waiting for this game to come out. Every day I kept checking the internet to see if there was a release date. There was literally not a day that went by. I kept saying to myself, where's the release date? When's the release date? When's the release date? 2018 came along. When's the release date? When's the release date? 2019 came along. When's the release date? When's the release date? 2020 came along. And finally, right before quarantine happened, they announced this game was going to be released in June and ended up getting pushed back to this month. So finally, we have Ghost of Tsushima at our hands. And I gotta give Sucker Punch Studios, the developers of this game, credit. They released that first gameplay in 2017 at E3, and it took another 3 years to develop. Now, do I think Ghost of Tsushima is perfect? No, this isn't the best game I've played all year, but it's probably the most fun I've had playing a video game all year. This is the most fun I've had playing a video game since probably Spider-Man or Jedi Fallen Order. That's almost like Jedi Fallen Order came out in November. That's a huge gap for and how I felt playing video games. I mean, the Ghostbusters game was really fun, but I don't think I've been addicted to a video game like this since Jedi Fallen Order. And yes, I did play The Last of Us 2. I really did like The Last of Us 2. You can watch my review of The Last of Us 2. I did end up liking The Last of Us 2 a lot, but there were so many slow moments in the first half of that game where I just couldn't get into it. It was more in the second half of The Last of Us Part 2 that I got into it. Ghost of Tsushima right away just hooked me. I love those games that just throw you right into the middle of things. 2018 Spider-Man did that. This game does the same thing, and it never lets up. There are times where this game might feel repetitive. It's an open world samurai game, which I'll get into more of how I feel about the open world in a little bit. So when you're traversing the island, it's gonna feel a lot like Assassin's Creed, where there's just gonna be enemies that are just gonna be there, they can see you, you can fight them. But I gotta say, the combat in this game is something to behold. It takes a lot of button pressing. It's challenging, but it's never frustrating. You gotta press a lot of buttons, but at the same time, it feels like it's very fluid. You know what buttons to press. You can change your stances. You unlock these different stances, like wind stance, stone stance, moon stance. You use those stances to fight against different types of enemies. It can be a bit annoying when you're in the middle of a battle and you got probably 20 enemies right around you that you gotta fight. To switch stances between the different types of enemies, like the brutes take a moon stance, I think. Stone stance is good against swordsmen. So it can be a little bit annoying, but you get used to it fairly quickly, and it never becomes a hindrance to the combat and the fluidity of the combat. Swinging that katana and having the patience to let an enemy attack you so you can either block or dodge and then get the upper hand on the enemy, it all felt very fluid. It all felt very energetic. It all felt natural and organic. I mean, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the side quests in video games, but I could just play this game all day without doing side quests, exploring the open world, and just fighting multiple enemies and Mongols that I see on my path to just walking around and traversing this open world. Tsushima Island is huge in this game. It is visually breathtaking. From the quiet, lush landscapes of fields and flowers and forests to the vibrant, energetic tones of castles and camps. This game has it all. For a AAA game on a current generation title that that will probably be obsolete within a few years. These graphics still continue to amaze me. The graphics in the cutscenes aren't as good as the gameplay graphics. That was a little bit of a downgrade, but at the same time, it didn't really bother me. What bothered me with the cutscenes was when they switched the aspect ratios. The cutscenes would be presented in widescreen. And then when it went to gameplay, the widescreen bars would just fade off, and you would go back to full screen, and you would play in full screen, as well as getting to one place, having a cutscene for like probably 15 seconds, then playing again for about maybe 20 seconds, and then going back to another cutscene that lasts about 20 seconds, and then playing again. That was a bit of annoying. They could have broken those cutscenes up or made that just one long cutscene. Just had that as one long gameplay segment. That would have worked better. The characters in this game I actually really liked. Jin Sakai, the main character you play as, there's not much to him at first, but the more you learn about him, the more you understand that he's riding that fine line between breaking his moral code, because you get so many different other weapons in the game which are very creative and very helpful when it comes to combat, but they're not samurai weapons. Like, you have a blowgun that can poison enemies, you have a bow and arrow, you have a flash bomb that can stun enemies as well. Those aren't typical samurai weapons you would think. I love, though, how the story addresses the fact that the main character you play as rides that fine line between samurai and going rogue. The inhabitants of the island, your allies, start to call the main character the Ghost. That's why this game is called Ghost of Tsushima. That's how it gets its title. When you interact with other characters, like your uncle, he doesn't like what you're doing. I love how it presents a character that is trying to keep his honor, not only his family's samurai clan, but honor the people of his island, while also riding that fine line between what his moral code might be. Very complex character. And I gotta say, the NPCs in this game, especially this character Yuna, very helpful. They actually help you in combat. Finally, we have some smart NPCs in this game. Thank you. I'm just so sick of those NPCs. They're like, alright buddy, you're just left to your own devices. I ain't helping you. Or they're like shooting arrows from 1,000 yards away and you have no idea why they're just standing there. It's like, come down here and help me. The NPCs in this game actually help you, and you get this really cool grappling hook that I actually really enjoyed, because it reminded me of like swinging like Spider-Man, or like, you know, in the new Tomb Raider games when Lara Croft gets like that rope and you can swing across stuff. That's what it was like. I thought that things like this, gadgets like that, they had a gadget like that in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which, by the way, most disappointing game I've ever played. That had to be probably the hardest game I've ever played too, and I just got sick of it after a while. It was too challenging, you know? I didn't have the patience to play Sekiro. I have the patience to play this game. I was rewarded when I was challenged with this game. I didn't feel that with Sekiro. But that grappling hook comes in handy, and the gadgets like that just add so much to the gameplay and the combat itself. You can also pick your experience. So you can play this game in English with no subtitles, English with subtitles. You can play it in Japanese with English subtitles, or something that I tried out briefly. I didn't really want to play my first experience with Ghost of Tsushima all the way through with this mode, but it's called Kurosawa Mode, so everything is in black and white. The sound is a bit grainy. It's in the vein of an Akira Kurosawa film. In this game, you can tell definitely took inspiration from Akira Kurosawa movies and created a great samurai epic that we finally got to play on consoles. I've always wondered what a samurai game would be like, how fluid the combat was, and I finally witnessed it all myself. Now let's talk about that open world. I mentioned a flaw I've had so far with the game, and that was the transition from cutscene to gameplay, and some of those segments are just too short and should have probably just been one segment of a cutscene or one segment of a gameplay. The open world, while it is beautiful, and it's great to explore Tsushima Island, everything you have to do on Tsushima Island isn't that interesting, honestly. The side quests are very boring. I did a couple of them because I'm always a story first and then side quests later type of person. But for this review, I did a few of them, and they were the most repetitive thing I've ever seen. It was basically like, oh, yep, go get this for me and save this guy, and then come back. That's all they were. I did like 4 of those in a row, and I was just like, this is the best they've got. Which leads me to believe that this game probably just shouldn't have been open world. It doesn't begin as an open world game, so why did you make it an open world game? Yes, it is great to explore the island of Tsushima. It is great to find the next shrine, the next spring, the next encampment. You know, it's nice to look at the beautiful, lush cinematography this game has to offer with the island, but I just feel like it should have been more along the lines of like something like The Last of Us or Uncharted, kind of more linear in that regard. The way the game begins, that's how it feels like it's playing out. But then when you get to a certain point in the game, you unlock the open world, and it's just not that interesting. It's not full of a lot of things to do, and the things you have to do just become repetitive after a while. There's also some camera angles when you're in combat that get a bit annoying where you can't see. It's like hiding behind bushes and barrels and blockades and stuff, and you're just like, where the hell am I right now? I can't see it. And then there were a few times that happened to me and I ended up dying. And I was just like, this isn't fair right now. There was times where I felt like slamming that controller, but I was just like, you know what, that's probably my fault. I backed myself into a corner, but at the same time, that camera angle, even if you try and use the right thumbstick to move that camera, it didn't really move it in a fluid way, I would say. Those are really my issues with Ghost of Tsushima. This is definitely the most fun I've had playing a video game in a while. It's the quickest I beat a video game in a while, too. It took me a long time to beat The Last of Us 2. This took about 5 days, and as you progress, the story itself just plays out in a way that you would expect an epic samurai movie to play out. I just loved being a samurai. I felt like I was like Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. I felt like I was an actual samurai. When games give you feels like that, they do a good job. It's got such beautiful cinematography in this game, fluid combat. It's a lot of fun. Even if it feels a bit repetitive in its hack and slash nature, it never gets old. I'm going to give Ghost of Tsushima a 9 out of 10. This might be my favorite game of the year. I'm just saying that right now. I'm sorry, Last of Us Part 2, but this is it. I had such a blast playing Ghost of Tsushima. So what did you guys think of the last PlayStation 4 exclusive Ghost of Tsushima? Drop me some feedback in the comment section below. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden. Stay tuned for more reviews coming very soon. I'll see you at the movies somewhere.